northern part of Canada and Alaska, it's really barren.
Barren?
Yeah.
Could you see Dan?
Yeah, you can see it's just unbelievable how much land there is. Frozen tundra. I think that's raising global warming is really good. It's going to
More
provide a
land.
lot more land there. That,
But they could
needs to go.
disappear.
That's true. That's not.
Okay, let's
Okay.
we're getting a kind of late start. You all got your agatas around.
I got it.
You got it.
Is it?
Well,
16.
this is a community affair.
It's funny. It's got that.
This is a very democratic community affair. Anytime you want to ask questions or chime in, or we'll do so. You got your regattas.
Yeah.
Now, this is-
Regatta.
And this is very repetitive. I don't know if I can see it. I don't know if I can see as well as I used to, or read as well as I used to. We'll go through this. We're together. The main thing is we're together. It's nothing makes you feel better than seeing our children and grandchildren enjoy this with us. Where's it going?
Keep going.
Glasses to read.
But we didn't say anything about not being able to see so well.
To like pause it,
Yeah.
to stop it when it gets boring.
We said before, this is not a religious thing as much as it is a getting a family together. It's more of a celebration. Yeah.
She's telling herself.
Oh, no, it's okay. Here.
It's a celebration and keep the tradition going. Tradition, like he said in the Fiddler of the Rose. Yeah. Tradition and then it's a family affair. Now, we'll inspect the Seder plate. It is incidentally one of the most beautiful Seder plates I've ever seen.
Isn't that a nice plate?
That's our first
Yeah.
What a
use
platter,
of the
huh?
Seder plate for
Yeah.
Granny and Papa.
And another thing I must say that Linda
Yeah.
is more fabulous. She arranged this far beyond, above and beyond what I would have done or Lily would have done. She's more Jewish than anyone could say. Every detail. She got the she got the
My partner
official
Letty.
she got the official writing and recipes, and she's followed to the T. So we appreciate it. A lot of effort went into this.
It's my pleasure.
When you look around, so the matzah is the main centerpiece,
Okay.
and the shank bone.
Yeah, it's over
You
here.
you all
Oh, yeah, we
see
can
it?
see it.
Stand up if you don't see it.
Okay.
What?
It's shangbone.
The roasted egg,
And that lady's.
the yellow lady on the left. The bitter herb,
It's the
the
full
horseradish.
beer.
The harosas,
It's a rabbi.
The rabbi has
The
the
rabbi.
that's the goodies.
Yeah.
And the parsley,
Parsley.
yeah. And there's little dishes of salt water. As we partake in these things, some of them have to be dipped in salt water, so
Okay.
they'll be within your reach. And we'll go along, we'll feel our way along. I have to do some reading. We are about to begin the recitation of the ancient story of Israel's redemption from bondage in Egypt.
I'll fall asleep.
The purpose of the Seder is to afford us the opportunity to recall the dramatic and miraculous event which led to the exodus from an ancient land of slavery. The Bible, centuries ago, instructed us to meet as we do tonight when it declared, "And thou shalt tell thy son on that day, saying, It is because of that which the Lord did for me, and when I came forth out of Egypt." By this, the Bible means that young and old would gather in the eve of Passover in order that we might relate to the children into all this thrilling chapter in the history of our people. Now, first, we've gone through that. We've explained this tells a little about what they are. The roasted shank bone, which remind us of the Paschal lamb, a special animal sacrifice which our ancestors offered to the altar of the great temple in Jerusalem on Passover holiday. The third symbol is a roasted egg, which reminds us of the second offering brought to the temple in Passover. It was known as a festival offering, for it was brought to each of the three festivals, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. Instead of sacrificing, start bringing eggs. The fourth symbol, the moror, the bitter herbs, which remind us of the bitterness of slavery, which our ancestors were compelled to endure. The fifth symbol, the porosis, made to resemble mortar, used at this time to remind us of the mortar which our forefathers made bricks for the building of Egyptian cities. The final symbol of karpas, the green vegetable, used to remind us that Pesach coincides with the arrival of spring and the gathering of the spring harvest. Passover in ancient times was also an agricultural festival and an occasion on which our ancestors gave thanks for the rich bounties of the earth. 4 times in the course of this service we will partake in wine, symbol of joy and thanksgiving. The 4 cups represent the fourfold promise which the Lord made to the Israelites in Egypt in the following words. He assured them they would be freed from servitude. I will bring you forth, I will deliver you, I will redeem you, I will take you. These are the symbols of Passover, echoes of the past, and reminders of the present. As we partake of them, when we remember the events which they recall, may we embody the spirit of our present day endeavors. We shall now sanctify the holiday with routine recitation of the Kiddush. Now we get ready to drink the wine. I'll say the Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borer pri agufah. Now, in English, it merely means, you can see it on,
Page.
I have to ask one of the 5 questions. Why did
What does that mean?
others have red wine and others have wine? It's all about the tens.
Some has alcohol and some doesn't.
I kind of got mixed up here. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who createst the fruit of the vine. Now we can have a drink. We do a lot of skipping.
Read it.
Do we do any toasting or?
No, that was the toast that I just.
Cheers. There's 4 cups.
It's supposed to be 4 cups before the Seder ends.
Ooh, I wow.
You good? Good wine?
Good grape
This
juice.
wine is very pleasant.
So the white stuff is green juice?
Grape juice.
Oh, great.
Well, let's skip along.
It's white. It's good.
We'll distribute pieces of the green vegetable, each the parsley. Everybody has it on their plate.
Should we dip it in the salt water?
Yes, you will.
Sure. If he gets this ready.
Are we supposed to?
Dip it in the salt water as we recite together.
Oh, the home.
And partake of the.
Taking of this.
We're good.
It's supposed to be a symbol.
That's it. And partaking of the fruit of the earth, we give thanks to God and all his bounties. We also recall for our forefathers, were tillers of the soil, We're very grateful for the earth's produce. In tasting the salt water, we are asked to remember the tears that our ancestors shed while suffering in the tortures of slavery. May our gratitude for the blessings which we enjoy help to soften the pain and sorrow and convert tears to joy and appreciation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, baruch pi hagafen. Blessed art thou, Lord, our God, King. 8:6.
Fruit of the earth.
6 and
So it's,
Who created the fruit of the earth.
eat her up.
You gotta eat little stuff.
I already
Yeah.
did.
I like it.
You made it before the blessing.
Actually, I've got,
He likes the blessing.
I'm gonna have a little more
could
fruit.
really have some.
I'm gonna dip a little more fruit of the earth in the salt water.
Tastes pretty good.
You made it before the blessing though. It's, you have to eat some after the blessing.
We did the
Did you
blessing.
do that brick I put in my?
But that was, that one was
That
partially
was
late.
mine. He jumped up, he jumped a little ahead.
But he's okay now, because he.
I saw you dip it, look man. There's like you spilling water when you dip. You've already dipped your parsley in the salt water. Let's get it straight here.
You did, you're right.
Yeah, I saw it.
I saw you there. You can't deny it.
Let's see, where are we?
Yeah.
Lo, this is
The matzah.
the matzah, I guess we,
3 wrapped matzah.
You need a maximum?
No, no,
No, you
no.
got the mat
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah, wrapped matzah.
This doesn't
I
feel
didn't realize you took it around.
Is there lots in there?
yeah, no, that's,
Which
we got
Watch
it.
yourself.
They'll send
You
them,
see
but they should be wrapped, but they're all right.
Oh, whoa.
The matzah, the 3 matzahs.
Do you need that as fast? You wouldn't have to have
Well, we just
What's
imagine.
it right there? It should say
That's
Passover.
right.
No, that's,
That's random.
The Pharaoh.
I didn't know. That was the
Where's
one
your
I was
yarmulke?
gonna have hidden, but they're not.
Don't forget.
He's the one who's gonna hide.
He's getting back.
No, he's kind of.
That's at the wall.
The ram matzahs are unwrapped, the hidden matzahs are out in plain view.
So when was the last time you did Passover
Take
coinciding?
one of the matzahs, break them and pass around.
Okay.
We'll skip some of this reading material.
But it's
It doesn't happen very
supposed
often.
to because the
Yeah.
Passover
Oh,
was supposed to be a
That's
Passover
funny.
Seder.
Lady.
Take another one.
So I don't know if one calendar is lunar and one's solar, but they should.
Either one is
Here.
fine.
Now give it to
Good.
No.
J.C.
What about the Orthodox?
Here's
All right,
your-
all right. Take another one.
Because it was the Passover, so it
Wait,
should
aren't
be
you
on our
supposed to put it
calendar.
on this or something?
But they
Now he's
might
supposed to
put it
dip
on
it
their
in
calendar.
salt.
Actually, if you want to see it.
Then you're supposed to
What?
put with this stuff.
That,
Back then,
Now, one of those
better.
One of those
Yeah, we got a
matzahs,
lunar calendar forever.
please, quiet.
one of those matzahs will be saved, you're supposed to break one in half and save it and pass it out at the end of the meal, it's your dessert.
This is,
So we'll just keep that in mind. Lo, this is the bread of affliction, the humble and simple bread which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let anyone who is hungry join us in this Seder, and let him partake in what we have to share. So you can eat a little matzah, yeah.
Can we
And
dip
dip it
this
in
stuff
salt
on
water?
it? Do we,
No,
it gets all soggy.
Dip it
How
in
about the this stuff?
no,
Can we dip it in?
Yeah,
no.
The apple and stuff, right?
Yeah, it goes best with that.
I think
With
better than
with
salt.
gratitude for the blessings which we have given, which we have been given, we invite the less fortunate to share with us in this meal, and also all others. Now, normally you'd have somebody invite someone who isn't family who we should share with you. But may the Jewish people, wherever they are,
We haven't.
those of them
far
still
away.
deprived of total freedom enjoy the liberty at this time of year. May our brethren in Israel speedily attain freedom from fear and want, and be privileged to build a symbol of peace for all nations. You know, this was written hundreds of years, thousands of years ago, and it's still good today.
At 4 o'clock.
it's true.
Well, I guess we should eat some of this stuff now.
What about the
For the four questions, so it's good to do the
Well,
four
we
questions.
eat this, then we
We
go on
eat all
before
this.
the meal, yes, this we should be.
I'm supposed to
consuming.
say it?
Be
Right.
careful with the
I
horseradish.
could skip ahead.
Yeah.
You guys have
We
lots
done,
of
I didn't-
horseradish.
Do the four questions.
Yeah, I got
Because
answers.
I
Alright,
do the four
alright.
questions,
You
that's
guys
the highlight.
We'll follow this.
Yeah.
Granny, be careful of the horseradish, it's a
It's
big
right next to
lobster.
your fish.
Oh, okay.
It's a white.
Yeah, but it's hot.
Okay, Elizabeth,
Hmm?
you asked the four questions on page
You
7.
got it.
You got them?
I'm gonna say, I wish you
All right,
asked.
quiet. The four questions by Little Princess.
Yeah.
I wish you asked you the four.
Go ahead.
Why is the night of Passover different from all other nights of the year?
Do you answer?
Are you supposed
Well,
to?
don't
No, you go through the whole
You
thing.
go
Begin off.
ask them all.
Okay. On all other, am I supposed to say that?
Yes.
Okay. On all other night we eat
Comets?
Komet and or matzah. But on this night, we only eat matzah. On all other nights, we eat all kinds of herbs, but on this night, we eat only more. On all other nights, we do not dip even once, but on this night, we dip twice. On all other nights, we eat either sitting or
Recline.
reclining, but on this night, we eat reclining.
Yeah.
Neither.
Once our slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord in his goodness and mercy brought us forth
From that land.
to that
Which
land,
is
mighty and outstretched arm. Had he not rescued us from the hand of the despot, surely we and our children would still be enslaved, deprived of liberty and human dignity.
We
We therefore gather this
year after
to tell the
year
ancient
to
story.
retell this ancient story.
For
For in reality it is not ancient, but eternal in its message and its spirit. It proclaims man's burning desire to preserve liberty and justice for all.
The first question asked concerns the use of matzah. We eat this unleavened cake to remember that our ancestors, in their haste to leave Egypt, could not wait for bread to rise, and so they removed them from the oven while still flat.
We partake of the more on this night, that we might taste of some bitterness, to remind ourselves of how bitter is the lot of one pot and the grip of slavery.
We did twice in the course of the service, greens in salt water and more in corrosive, once to replace the tears with gratefulness, and once to sweeten bitterness with suffering.
The fourth question asks why on this night we eat in a reclining position. To recline at meal times in ancient days was the sign of a free man. On this night of Passover, we demonstrate our sense of complete freedom by reclining during our repast.
Of 4 sons did the Torah speak, describing the 4 types of Jews.
The wise son, the wicked son, the simple one, and the young one, who does not know enough to inquire.
The wise son asked, what mean these customs in which we engage, which the Lord commanded to observe?
He is regarded as wise,
since he includes himself
among those obligated to observe the traditions of Passover.
The wicked son asked, what mean these customs in which you engage, which the Lord commanded you to observe?
He is regarded as wicked, since he excludes himself from the obligated group, assuming the Jewish duties are meant for others, not for him.
The simple one, with complete unconcern, is regarded simple because in his
Wrong. What we have here is an opportunity for everyone in the audience to participate. So this is like a live theater. In fact, we have a director here from Toronto. And it's an opportunity for everybody to, now, there are pictures here, and I don't want to say that they're not, they weren't recently taken. Is that the politically correct way to say they were taken a while ago? And in these, a short while ago, sometime in the past. And in that, there are going to be opportunities for us to identify who's in them. Well, we can see if you can identify yourself. And if, the other thing is that there's we do not have a very good archives in our family. And so we were able to piece some things together, and unfortunately we looked for it, we couldn't find everybody. So the lack of inclusion is because, like my family, my parents started destroying things in my early years.
Remember the shredder?
To try and separate themselves. It was a little bit difficult.
Polish
we had a flood in Kansas.
They're trying to avoid.
Basement. And I caught them one day throwing things in the water. But, so this is what you kind of do. That's why we're seated in sort of theater style here. And this will be as good as you make it. And we'll see how if anybody can recognize what's going on. Okay?
So in other words, you guys are supposed to talk and echo. We'll start the video whenever you need.
I'd like to buy a vowel, please.
Okay. Roll it.
Final answer.
All right.
Yeah, final answer, that's the one.
Play.
Can you turn the volume down a little? In the 33 years between the assassination of Tsar Alexander II and the outbreak of World War I, approximately 1/3 of the Eastern European Jews left their homelands. There were 2 million of them, and they settled mostly in large American cities where they attempted to maintain their Yiddish culture. Then, as a result of both external and internal pressures and their desire for a better life, they made their way into American society. In 1870, there were 60,000 Jews in New York City. By 1880, the estimate had risen to 80,000. By 1910, a special year, there were 1.1 million, each one full of hope, promise, and special talent. They would go forward and build the foundation of the great society that we all enjoy today. This is a story of one of them, especially my father, Joe. In his book, The Greatest Generation, Tom Brokaw wrote, they came of age during the Great Depression and the Second World War, and went on to build modern America. Men and women whose everyday lives of duty, honor, achievement, and courage gave us the world we have today. With the help of Shelley Schmolken and Dan Nenzer's work, we were able to piece together this account of their early years. Yosel and Miriam Press lived in the village of Vishnevitz in western Ukraine. They had 8 children, one of them Isidore, born in 1884. Yosel died when Isidore was 9. He was given to a tailor to learn the trade. He became a skilled tailor, moved to Golodna, and married Rebecca Plotka. Rachel, their firstborn, arrived in 1905, and by 1907 they had enough money to cross into Austria to begin their journey to America. The population in 1910 was 91.9 million. There were 46 states. The largest city in the world in 1910 was London. The average hourly wage was 63 cents. Stamps were a nickel, a pound of coffee was a nickel, and a Studebaker was $1,700. How much was the toy? That's right. The
Replacement rubber
first
bands.
flight was in 1903. It was Saturday, April 30th, 1910, and Prohibition was just voted on in 4 states. It's a history lesson. You learn a lot of history. That's right. You can pay attention because
You guys,
we're going to have a
example.
test. That's right. There's going to be a test. But it's not for you.
Uli buli, uli buli.
What a cute baby.
Who knows who that is?
Kid each one.
Yes, it's That's what Granny said.
You can get arrested for those amounts.
My mother was back to see what was back there. But he looks pretty much the same.
Yeah, he does.
And of course, the reason he's here, and the reason we're all here, and that's part of the family.
Like this, thank you.
A really innocent mom.
A really nice grandpa, too.
Their first stop was Alabama. Went to Baby Nat. You see who's in there? Now who's where?
Uncle Dave is on the left.
Daisy?
Julie, you resemble Daisy a little bit.
Rachel?
Rachel, Joe, Harry.
Louis, thank you.
I don't know who the big guy is. I don't know.
I can't hold it. You know what?
Yeah,
Doesn't he look like
yeah. There's Joe.
We totally welcome you. Skip. Okay. Now, Skip is documenting this thing totally. I was doing this reminiscence. I realized that the first memory, John and I were talking about this when we were driving out today, the first memory that I have in my whole life was my dad coming home on leave during the middle of the war, maybe 1943. And I remember he popped woke me up at night, and he was wearing like an army suit, you know, all tailored in. I remember that, and just remember kind of grabbing him. And that's the last thing I remember until I was until I met Marcella. But no, I was really glad to see him. I loved him a lot. He brought a lot of love and stability, and he's taken care of business ever since that day. And I think it's a really nice tribute to him to have all these people here. And let me ask you, can you imagine kind of a more together 90-year-old man? Does he seem 90 years old? He's taking care of business now as he always has, huh?
There were 39 months passed when I left Larry in San Francisco and came back to see him the first time. Now 39 months.
So I was 39 months old. He came back after 39 months and I was 38 months old. Yeah, right. You want to say anything about that, Mom? No, just kidding, folks. No, actually it was in the middle. You came back on leave. Remember you brought the money back from Australia?
When I left, you were 28 months old. When I came back on leave, it was really a ruse. I brought back money for the United States government. In the Pacific Theater, these soldiers that all came over with cash in their pockets. And we didn't allow them to have American dollars in case they got captured. The Japanese would. So we always had them turn their dollars in. We gave them script. Periodically, we had to assign an officer, courier, to take the money back to the United States. On this particular case, I had a little influence. I was an adjutant general, and I came back after 39 months to see my bride and my number one son.
Well, we were really glad to see him. And we're really glad to see him tonight. We're really glad to see all you guys. So I think we should have a toast with a lot of love to my father, Joe Press, who hardly seems 90 years old. Pops, we love you a lot. Congratulations on your birthday. There they are, Miss America. All right, now, yeah, where's Skip when you need him? He's still there with the little red light on. Okay. All right, we're going to have anybody that would like to come up and make a talk. Nobody has to, but we invite everybody to do it, reminisce. I just started walking around some really neat stories about the old days. But we're going to start off with my brother Jim.
Okay.
What a surprise.
Thank you. Well, you're probably tired of hearing from me. I know. However, it's very kind of you to allow us to maybe reminisce a little bit. This is one of the thoughts I have is that when you come together like this as a family, for those that are younger here, I'd like to talk for just a moment, because if you saw those videos and looking at the pictures, we always came together every Sunday at 321. That we always went to the Brookside Park, and the family was the unit that kept us all together. And by coming together like that, it planted inside of us the seeds that made us what we are. And now today, with the televisions and all the activities and the swimming meets and the ballerinas and the Lakers and all the other things that we do in life, some of that has been lost. And so coming to a party like this for someone like my father, his 90th birthday, you've got to reflect on the fact that he's like the keeper of the flame. Remember that story about the clan of the cave bear, and there was always somebody who had to keep the flame because nobody knew how to start. They didn't have Zippos, and they didn't have matches, and they needed the flame to stay alive, to keep the animals away, and to prepare their food. And the only way they could do that is if there was a fire somewhere. Somebody in the clan would go and get the fire and keep it and carry it around. It was the most important person in the clan. It was the person who kept the flame. And in my mind, in our family, and where we are today, that's what my father does. He's got the flame. And he wants to give a little bit of that to all of us, and we all have it. And everything that we've accomplished and everything that we are is a reflection of what we've been given from our parents. And a number of us here are lucky. We've got our parents, both our moms and our dads. And also another thing I want to address, and that is in the video today, we were also able to celebrate those that have been part of our life, and they still are. And sometimes you may feel a little sad, but the reality is that's who we are, and we should celebrate the life that everybody has. So that's why it's such a special time for us to come together, and a real opportunity to say happy 90th, but to really, for all of us here, to celebrate our lives the way my father has. Thank you.
That's nice, yeah. Pops is done. Okay. Now, I'm not going to call on people, but I do have a list here that Thelma drew up. And guess who's next? Where's Aunt Daisy? Where is she? Oh, there you are. Aunt Daisy, tell us something.
I think what I have to say would be very dull because I have no complaints. And perhaps because of the placement in my family. Now, my sister Rachel, blessed memory, was just a Rachel that you think of, sentimental and almost like another mother by the time I came along. Then after that, there was Joe, a boy, Harry, a boy, David, a boy, and then in Babynet, Alabama, Daisy was born. And these were all wonderful big brothers. I did have pigtails, excuse the expression, but there was no pulling of that. I respect them because they were my big brothers. And to this very day, I have no complaints about my brothers. I have a younger brother too, Louis. Yeah. Well, I can't complain about Louis now, but Louis bore the brunt of all the rest of us, and he turned out just great. Married a wonderful wife, Marilyn, and has children. My nieces and nephews are doing so well. So I feel more than doubly blessed to have had a sister like Rachel and brothers like Joe and Harry and David and even Louis. These days especially Louis, because Louis may remember the times that he may have given me a hard time, but he certainly made up for it lately in being a brother. He has become a big brother since. But today is a wonderful opportunity to see my brothers and all of his friends and his children and grandchildren. And thank you for letting me say this.
Well, on that note, I think we should turn the mic over to the little brother, don't you guys? Oh, I think he's going to sing. Uh-oh. Poem, here comes a poem.
Not really, but I did think I better make a few notes, make sure I didn't forget anything. And so I wanted to tell you that today's celebration is all about Joe, not about me. And I would like to share my outlook with you on the wonderful life that God had provided for me. As most everyone knows, I was the youngest of 6 siblings, and as a result, I had the benefit of learning so much from my brothers and sisters. I learned graciousness from Sister Daisy. I learned tenderness and humility from David. I learned friendliness from Harry. I learned dedication and forthrightness from Joe. And I learned the work ethic from Rachel, who was like a mother hen to all of us. After our parents' demise and Rachel's passing at a comparatively age, Joe became the patriarch of our family and has been a wonderful role model for all of us. He has excelled in every endeavor he has undertaken, his illustrious career in the military, and his accomplishments in the business world, his community service wherever he has lived. And so every night before I go to sleep, I count my blessings for the outstanding family of which I'm part of, the great friends which make my life so present, and as part of our Jewish heritage, all the male children of the Press family are Cohens, which means we are the descendants of the high priests of Israel. This gives us the privilege of delivering the priestly blessing, which I would like to do. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Adonai panav elecha v'kanecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha. Yilasein l'cho shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord lift up his countenance to you and cause his face to shine upon you. May the Lord bring you love, happiness, and peace to all those assembled here. Amen.
All right. Mama, you're the reason he came back from the war. You want to say a word or two?
I might say that 65 years ago, I said yes to Jill, and I never regretted it. It was the smartest decision I ever made.
I don't think he's regretted it either. All right. Let's not get too lovey there now. All right. Okay. Now, it says on the list, grandkids. Do we have any grandkids in the audience? Here comes, if you guys know who this is, it's Rob Press. One of a few grandchildren. Go for it.
Well, Larry was talking about earliest memories, and my earliest memories really start, one of the memories at least, is where Papa was teaching me how to throw a football and a baseball. Now, all of you have noticed I have not become a professional football player or a baseball player here. I've had quite a few golf lessons between now and then, and that hasn't worked out too well either. But it was a lot of fun. I would like to say a couple things. First off, of course, happy birthday. I was going to ask you what your favorite birthday was, but not now, because there's quite a few to think back on, I'm sure. But it's funny, we all have like sort of conscious learning and unconscious learning. And we go through life and we go to school and we, of course, learn things in class, and Christopher took his SATs recently, today, this morning, and we learn things by making mistakes, but there's all kinds of unconscious learning that goes on as well. And throughout my life, you're always looking for people to kind of look up to learn things like character, and model your life after somebody. And I was real fortunate to have my grandfather as somebody I could kind of model my life after unconsciously, just sort of, that's kind of how it is. And so kind of on behalf of everybody here, I'd like to thank Papa for giving us somebody we can model our lives after. The character, dedication, compassion for people. So thank you, Papa. Happy birthday.
And it worked out pretty well, huh? Who's this guy coming up? Here's John, the first ever grandchild, well, not in the whole family, or just in yours, but how about with all the, no, on Rachel's side, never mind. Okay, John, the first grandchild of Bob's.
Hi, guys. Yeah, sort of following on the note of what Rob said, which is that we have our what we learn consciously and what we learn unconsciously, and we saw this video today, right? It went generation after generation, and I'm the third generation or fourth generation if we look into what was in the video, and he has lived his life in such a way is that it makes us all just tremendously proud, and I kind of, when I think about myself and when I think about what I do, I think about a little bit, would this make Papa proud? What would Papa do? And I mean, if you look at his life and you look at all you guys are all a tribute to what a great life he's lived, and a sort of a way of life and a way of looking at life, and a sense of pride and a good plan for life. And I think it's been a huge inspiration in my life. In many ways. Recently, I've been working out a lot and losing a lot of weight. That's something that I've done. Those of you who see me like less than every 5 years or so will have noticed that. And a part of that has been Papa sort of nudging me, going, come on, do this, do this, do this. And it's had a good influence on me. And it's because of him sort of instilling this concept of pride in me. When I teach, I just got through teaching World War II, I get to brag about my grandfather and about the way that we should live our lives and having role models in life. And I really think that, you know, as we watch that video, people mention that we see people come and we see people go, but I really feel that who I am is really largely a reflection of course, my father and the rest of my family, but Papa, because it all stems back through the generations as far back as you can look. And I think that I just, to the extent that what I am what I am, and I'm happy with that, I owe a lot of that to you, Papa.
Okay, we're not finished with grandchildren. Any more grandchildren?
Christopher will.
Christopher? I know you're here. I'm looking right at Elizabeth. She's pretending not to see me a bit. I see Christopher over there hanging out behind the camera, pretending he's not hearing any of this happening. Oh well. No, don't put any trips. How about we've gone through sort of the grandchildren or the brother and sister and stuff. Would anybody else like to come up, tell some old stories? Stop it. Say something like, come on, everybody's been saying what a great role model he is and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't anybody know any kind of, you know, not such nice stuff? Come on, Hi.
Don't leave it unattended.
For those who know me, realize I don't speak too long. But the first time I heard about Joe, I was courting your niece, Marion, and I was a PFC in the U.S. Army. And she was telling me she has an uncle who's a lieutenant colonel. I says, it's impossible. A Jewish lieutenant colonel? Only in America. And in fact, I don't think you guys were at our wedding. You were somewhere in 1946. What? I never forgave you for that. We had a double wedding, Marion and I, and Louis and Thelma, and Joe and Lou were not there. I couldn't believe it. But, you know, lieutenant colonels, they have their own way. But the next time I got in touch with Joe and Lil it was 1954, and we wanted to buy a new car, and Lil had a relative in Kansas City by the name of Feld, and we managed to get a very, very good deal. You hear that, Jim? A good deal on a 1954 Bel Air Chevrolet, one of the greatest cars I've ever had. I wish I never sold it. But we took the train into Kansas City, and we spent almost a week with Joe and Lil, and I really got to know them real well. And knowing a lot about Joe's political activities in the Kansas City area, I thought he'd introduce me to Harry Truman, but he never got to it. So, in fact, did you know I went to Independence while we were there, and I thought maybe I can catch Harry Truman walking. He used to walk in his rounds every day, but I never got to hold of him. But anyway, we did have a wonderful week with them, got the new car, and just had a great time. And in conclusion, there's not too many words you can say about Joe, but there is a Yiddish expression which I think is the greatest tribute that one could give somebody. When you tell somebody he's a shena mensch.
Okay, takes care of business. All right, would anybody else like to skip? Skip's taking pictures. You want to come? Here we go. Here's a guy that's had look inside my pop.
Basically, what I want to say is, how can you not love a man whose warmth emanates from such a beautiful, rich baritone voice? I got to tell you, folks, that it's a real privilege and obviously a pleasure to have married into the family. And I got to tell you that before I ever got married, I took a trip out here to the West Coast. I live on the East Coast, and met the family without my intended right. And I came away with a very, very positive impression. Got to tell you that my wife said some things that were a little ambiguous about her father, and I gained an incredible amount of respect, delight, pleasure, insight, and genuine affection for this great guy. And obviously met all the other brothers as I was taken up the mountains, and I was taken to Pasadena, and I was taken around, and it's indeed a pleasure for me to be here and participate with all of you and let you know my level of affection for Joe and the whole family.
Yeah, obviously passed the interview, right? They accepted it, yeah. Oh, well. Anybody else that was interviewed by the Board of Inquisition? Who are you pointing at? They're all pointing at each other, right? We have his doctor, his cardiologist, now we got his dentist.
That's true. I am his dentist. It's been my pleasure over the years to be both the dentist to Aunt Lil and to the Colonel, as I call him. I don't know if anybody does that every time. I say, good morning, Colonel. He kind of chuckles and he says, hi, Skip, how are you? But he is such a decent guy. It was very interesting. I had the same experience as Alan I got the same trip on the mountains. Janet just take me out to Arrowhead, all these different places where Uncle Dave lived, everywhere else. And what was so interesting about this family was that the difference in all the brothers. Dave was entirely different than Harry, and Harry was so different than Uncle Joe, and Uncle Joe, well, there was nobody like my father and Uncle Big Lou, I'll tell you that. And I don't know if I've contributed a lot to the family, I hope I have, but I think I did originate the names, the various nicknames, the Colonel and Tanta Lil, and Little Thelma, Big Lou, Blue-Eyed Raymond. Raymond's the only one in the family with blue eyes, am I right? I mean, you know, among the first cousins, there's a few. Am I right? Yeah, I said the cousins though. I mean, the first generations.
Miriam has blue eyes and blonde hair.
Well, they told me there was somebody in the family who had only one eye, and I've never met them. They lived up in the mountain near Uncle Dave or something. But the thing I noticed about Uncle Joe was that obviously he's a man of integrity, and he has his own opinions, and I think they're the highest, and yet he's a very tolerant guy. Now, as I've had many a lunchtime, they come down, Aunt Lil, Tanta Lil, and the Colonel come down, and we do dentistry, and then I take them to an Italian restaurant owned by a very conservative Marine. So it's kind of interesting. I was in the Navy, Uncle Joe was in the Army, and this guy's a Marine, and that's always has good conversations. He's a very conservative guy. I love the way Aunt Lil takes him on, though. She doesn't yell, she doesn't scream, she just smiles and sort of wins him over. But Uncle Joe has very strong feelings, but he's, and I'm sure the boys, Larry and the professor, know that. I mean, Larry is the professor, and Jimmy, I should say. And I don't think I've ever heard him come down on anybody. He respects everybody's opinions, and he may not embrace them himself, but he doesn't go out of his way to advertise that he's not totally in keeping. He's a very, very tolerant guy. I think Janet, has always been in awe of Uncle Joe, ought to now come after and take this microphone. She was, you know what? She was dreaming just then. She was sort of sleeping, and maybe I was talking too long. She did a lot. Jan and I and Ronnie bought these are all the flowers you see are they're not from out here. They're from San Diego County. They probably were grown out here. Come down to San Diego. We brought them back up again, but we were shopping getting this morning. So Janet, you ought to really come up and say something. I'll bring it over.
I just want to wish Uncle Joe a very happy birthday, and he knows how I feel about him. So I'll give it to my older sister, and she can speak for all the siblings.
Well, Alan and I, when we heard that it was going to be Uncle Joe's birthday and you were having a party, we decided that we absolutely had to be here. And actually, I was at his 70th and his 80th, so there was no way I was not going to be at his 90th. I have special memories of Uncle Joe and Aunt Lil because when I was a student at UCLA, I was getting my master's degree in English. They had just moved back to California and they were living in...
All right, we'll just wait until Skip gets the camera rolling again. No. Okay. All right, yeah, isn't it the truth? And you know what, you were at the 70th, the 80th, the 90th, we'll do the 100th, that'll be cool, won't it? You know, while I'm on the subject, I was gonna do it later, but the flowers, we owe a big round of applause to this entire press bunch here, this kind of end of the table. Thelma, Louie, and Janet, and Skip, for helping together. They put out the invitations and got the flowers together for us and really helped a lot with pulling this thing together. Really clap for that. And Raymond too. Oh boy, I blew it. Sorry, Raymond. Oh well. I don't know. Is anybody else? This is still open mic time. Who wants to come up and talk? I still want to hear somebody say something, at least a story. There we go. We need stories.
Well, there is one story. Now,
Uncle Joe and Aunt Lo have been married for 65 years. So how long have you really known each other? 75 years, okay. Well, I always assumed for 75 years, they've only had eyes for each other, they've just been latched to each other like glue. When I was in college, though, I heard a different story. Now, Uncle Joe, of course, is the patriarch of the family. He's the one everyone looks up to. He's the one I look up to. But there is no denying he is a former UCLA frat boy. ZBT. In fact, I think there's a few other fraternity types and sorority types from UCLA too. I'm looking right at Nikki and probably Tyson, and there's quite a few people here who are in fraternities. Now, tell me the age difference. How many years are you apart? Two? Uncle Joe pledged the fraternity right when it started. He was probably in the charter class. They had a big dance at the ZBT house. So naturally, everyone ran a date. Well, there's 2 years difference between them. So he would have been bringing a high school junior to his fraternity dance, which would have looked a little embarrassing, I suppose. So for the one time, he accepted a blind date from, was she from a sorority? She was, I think, from the one of A5 sorority, and she turned out to be 100% dog meat. And I think that was far more embarrassing than being caught with a high school junior at a fraternity dance. That was the one and only time he ever tried it. And Aunt Lil told me that probably about 25 years ago. God bless
you. Any more stories? This guy's such a prince? Yeah, okay, Kenny, come up here. You gonna do it? Okay. Somebody said, I can't believe he's a lawyer. I don't exactly know why. He is.
I can't believe him because he's a lawyer.
You can say any bad things you want about lawyers. Jim mentioned that Joe was a ZBT. I was a ZBT too. In fact, I still, even today, run into people who were fraternity brothers of Joe's back in the 30s and have terrific memories of him. I remember when Larry wasn't a fraternity boy, but I remember when he was looking at colleges only a few years ago. He came through Columbus, and we went to the ZBT house at Ohio State and scored a steak dinner because of Joe, and that was good. And I was the only one who went on to be a ZBT, but the stories, I didn't get a lot of stories of him back then. I think because he was with Lilith, even back then, the wild stories have been suppressed. But my memories of Joe go back, back to the 40s. Whenever we would visit California, he would be there would be the colonel back from the war, and Lil. It was always a great time. Then they moved to Kansas City, and we used to stop in at Kansas City on the way from Ohio to California and back, and see what they were building there in the mountain in Kansas City. It was really quite something. And Joe would drive us through the tunnels of the mine, and he would turn the lights off, and it would be pitch black, but he would still know where he was going out. I still haven't figured out how he did that. But it's been a lot of years, and it will be a lot of years more, and we're all most happy to wish Joe a happy 90th and many more to come.